Do you ever worry that we're not going to make it, or do you feel like we are going to figure things out, or is this a bad time in history, or is this actually a good time in history?
You know, it's interesting because when I do worry about that, which is mostly what I do during my waking hours, I think that my fear is that we won't learn from what we're experiencing historically. Like we did not learn from the financial crisis. I don't think things were changed enough. I think they were glossed over, and I think that will ultimately present itself as another crisis and worse situation than we had before. And it really bothers me that like the world doesn't get it. You know, and that's a real thing. It also bothers me that we don't have, and this is kind of a human nature thing, but the world tends to blame things, or people tend to blame things for what's going on in their lives or economically or whatever on other people, when it's not necessarily the other people's fault, when it might be more of the system, or you know, how governments and finances are connected to each other, just sort of bigger matters, but they take it out on each other, which is kind of what's been happening throughout time. But it bothers me that we haven't evolved enough in terms of humanity in general to not blame each other when things go wrong that aren't necessarily because of someone being different or else or other, but because of something bigger than that.
Yeah.
I think that we're starting the beginning of a prolonged period now of a recession or even worse.
Hi, it's Brian Rose from London Real. I recently sat down with Nomi Prins, the former Wall Street trader you would have seen on Fox, CNBC, and Bloomberg Television. She regularly advises the Federal Reserve, IMF, and World Bank on important financial policy matters.
I've realized over the years that people don't have the same exposure to trading systems on Wall Street. And so I looked at what are some of the ways that I can create something that regular people on the ground can use to access some of what Wall Street does all the time.
We had an incredible conversation, but what really stood out to me is her brand new 25-cent contract strategy, designed to leverage a little-known market anomaly that happens every day around 10 a.m., if you know what to look for.
The more comfortable you feel with financial elements, the better you'll be at managing them, and the more confident and empowered you'll be in your own life in any aspect of your life, not just with respect to money.
Now, as a former Wall Street trader, I am super excited to share this investment strategy for the very first time. As the host of this episode, I'm able to offer you exclusive rights to a seat at her 25-cent contract live training. But you must act now to secure your spot. So click on the link below or go to londonreal.tv/Nomi, that's Nomi, to secure your spot. And I will see you there.
I myself, my graduate degrees are in statistics and operations research, undergrad and math. So that was always, yes, my kind of angle into Wall Street relative to trading or sales, which was some of the other types of jobs on Wall Street. It was always about the math, the trends, the numbers, the securities, and how they behaved under certain conditions. And that's always what I looked at throughout my entire career on Wall Street. And I always also looked at the downside, not what happens if a trade works, but what happens if it doesn't work. What are the risks you should be looking for, and how can you best sort of protect that investment for those risks? And so that's what They're a very cheap way of taking an investment into the market, particularly in times of volatility, that take into account what the big sharks are doing, that take into account why volatility is happening, and presents a way for a person to take advantage of that scenario in a cheap way, and in a fast way, and in an easy way.